So now some people are putting pressure on this guy that he has to grow because he's a dictator. Let him be dictator, but let him put some sanity. Anyway, let's put on the light. That's all for this morning. I will have to go to church now. But before I go to church, let me hear what you are thinking about the role of mathematics system in creating, the role of mathematics science in creating order and system. So, what will you say, guys? Give them the microphone. And all of you have to stand because you are so lethargic.
No, it isn't. Yeah, it's green. Yes, can y'all hear me? Yeah, I always read in the Bible about that everything was so specifically written down, and I never knew why. And now I know that it's because of the order, and with that, you just can direct everything that you want. So I think it's a good thing that I now know that the administration of things is so important. And real blessings comes with the order. So.
Yep. So we should know that without mathematics, without science, order cannot be created. I mean, not small order in the room. I'm talking about technological order, industrial order, and grand projects can never be accomplished. Order is based on mathematics, measurements, standards. And so today is the role of science, technology, in creating order and systems. And I think I made a point. Everything is from the Bible. And so, yeah, you've spoken. You can say it. Yeah. So what have you seen today? How will you assess? What's your thoughts after what you have seen today?
Sorry, I have a little bit of cough. For me, I think you've made the picture very clear now, the importance of precision measurement, because these are some of the things sometimes we study in school, but we don't kind of like...
Don't know why.
We don't know why. They don't know the reason why. You just think it's for mathematics, for you to write an exam and for you to pass. But because
that's why most people don't like it.
Yeah.
Most students.
It's so amazing that as you're teaching, I was just like, so that is actually the basis for righteousness. Yeah. Because we see righteousness as one kind of mysterious and spiritual thing, something that is like from up above. But righteousness, with what you just said, righteousness is just making sure
precision.
Everything is precise.
Right.
everything is standard, quality.
Done right according to standard. That is righteousness.
Because when you read the Old Testament, you see when you read the Old Testament, you see when God gave Noah the idea to build an ark, he gave him precise measurement. Even when he gave Moses a blueprint of the temple, he gave him precise measurement. And now, it now dawned on me, like you said, yes, without standards, precision, there is no way a nation can be developed. Because, for example, it's beginning to make sense. For example, you see people just build houses, and Nigerians like to cut corners a lot. So, for example, maybe the measurement is supposed to be like 50 meter by 30 meter. Just because he wants to make a little bit of money, you say, you know what, let me reduce the amount of cement and reduce the amount of sand. And rather than doing it 50 by 40, we just do it maybe 48 by 23. And that's why you see a lot of collapsed buildings in Nigeria, even churches. No precision. Because no precision. And if you see Nigerian houses, for example, a house that a typical builder in Nigeria would build, you discover that the finishing it's so horrible, appalling. Yeah. And that's why you see people want to build houses. Those that have the money, they import the concrete slab that has been completely, and you see their houses, you say, wow. But we see a Nigerian builder, for example, what's this guy, what's his name now? Squan, TB Joshua. He built a massive structure, and it collapsed and killed about 200 people, and most of them were foreigners. It didn't portray a good light, because the Bible says we are the salt of the earth. If the salt loses its savor, then it's of no use. So the teaching today has just like clarified a lot of things. Now I'm beginning to see the Bible not as a religious book. I'm beginning to see the Bible as a manual for life, a practical book. It's coming alive. It's making sense.
You know, I have a friend that was teaching in Georgia University in America. For 30 years, he was in America, PhD professor. And the conclusion he came to after he finished listening to me is that he teaches physics and mathematics and chemistry. He said, until I listened to Pastor, I didn't understand what physics meant.
Yeah.
Or what mathematics meant, or what chemistry meant. But now, I'm seeing chemistry in the Bible.
So it's really, really making
Mathematics
sense.
in the Bible.
That's my life, because I've always been science and technology all my life. My first degree, my second degree, everything has been science. So,
Well, you didn't relate it to the Bible.
yeah. I just couldn't. The only thing I came close to was when we were studying astronomy, and I was looking at the heavens. I was looking at the way, like we're studying once, and they were saying that the Earth is precisely located in the universe. That if the Earth is like I think about 1 meter or 2 meter away from the position, closer to the sun, we're all born. And if the Earth moves slightly behind, maybe I can't remember the exact figure now, I think 1 mile, we will all freeze to death. And if the Earth rotates more than the speed it's rotating now, the gravitational order will be destroyed, and there'll be a lot of earthquake, so many destructions. So that's why scientists cannot really, although they will come out with the concept and say that there is no God, but at the same time they contradict themselves, because they say the Earth is so precise. Everything is measured to perfect precision. Everything. And that's why they can't relate the fact that the Earth just exploded from what they call a Big Bang, and everything came into place. The fishes, the dog, everything, perfect precision, everything. I think with what you've said, I'll have to go back and start looking for scriptures that talk about science, and begin to relate it, because I studied it all my life. I just felt, okay, scripture is here, religion, spirituality is here, and science is here. I never knew that, and now I listen to this guy a lot, Ravi Zachariah. He's a philosopher and a science, apologist. And when he keeps saying that, look, you cannot separate science from the Bible. It's not possible, because everything we see today came out from there, because all the early scientists, the first scientists, Isaac Newton and all of them, they were all believers, and they all got their inspiration from the scripture. But I was like, okay, I want to see it, but I'm not really seeing it. But just being around you and you explaining it has just like expanded it completely.
Maybe one day you have to listen to me teach it from Genesis. Mathematics, physics, and science. A little bit of it today, but we can do even more from Genesis.
It's just amazing, sir.
From Genesis chapter 1.
Yeah, I think I really have a better understanding of righteousness, a very, very good understanding of righteousness. In everything, in your measurement, and that's why.
That is why those countries are more righteous countries than the religious countries. It's a big difference. Righteous countries and religious countries.
And honestly, at the end of our existence on life, there will be a lot of surprises and shock. Because it's the truth, because most of these nations and most of these people we look at, because that's why I think that's why God says that my ways are not your ways, my thoughts are not your thoughts. The way the way we see things is not the way he sees things. We might look at somebody and say, oh, he's not a righteous person, or he's not a godly person. But God is seeing him and saying that he's the one keeping my standard. And you are just busy being religious.
Religion.
It's so bad. Religion is so bad. Religion is so bad. I just want to thank you, sir. You've done so much. Thanks, sir.
Well,
what is suit? I can't get you to this your suit.
Well,
beautiful stuff.
Thank you.
With precision.
Thank you.
They want you to
Thank you. Well, for me, the most important
let
thing.
the whole world enjoy it too.
The most important thing
Not just us here.
the most important thing I've taken from this lesson this morning is that we were sent to school. We were not actually told
You are
why,
not
why,
explained
why
to
we were in
us.
school.
Yeah.
I like me when I
As
was
if it's a duty.
when I was in school, I was scared of physics and mathematics and even chemistry, biology, because I'm just looking. When I was in school, I was just thinking, which subject should I choose that would be so easy for me just to get through? Let me just get through and leave this place, and without because I don't understand the reason why I should study physics, the reason why I should study biology, the reason why I should study all this whole thing. And most of us, if we have our reasons, is maybe you are thinking, okay, I'm going to study medicine, I'm going to study, even the study of medicine, you still don't have, there is no, your passion and nothing is connected to what you even want to do. But in fact, now I understand when they say that when purpose of anything is not known, that destruction is inevitable. So it's a different understanding why all this whole thing. I've never been able to link the scripture from combining the science and the Bible. In fact, I don't even. I'm still. My mind is still processing the whole thing, because the unrighteousness I know is. The righteousness I know is to go to church, be holy, and say the truth and all this whole thing. Because if we relate it to the video of the woman that was cooking in the middle of the road, she goes to church, she sits down in church and she does her righteousness in the church, and then she comes back and she goes back to the street, and because she could not see that the danger of where she is, that somebody might lose their life trying to cross the road to come and buy the food. All she's seeing is, as far as I make my money here, our consciousness is always the end product, which is money. Immediate. We don't think about the process. So it's a new revelation for me. It's a new understanding for me, and I'm really happy that I'm here today.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't know actually where to start. I think they've actually said everything. But what comes up for me really today is that God doesn't like unrighteousness, and if in every form, and wherever there is unrighteousness, is ready to act, and in his own way. So all those particles of unrighteousness, which we never actually really pay keen attention to, like judgment, measure, and say just weights, just standard. It's really, intrigue, really. And the most important thing to me, which really hits me, is the implication. We could see the video, the implication of where there is unrighteousness and where there is righteousness. Those poor little children, due to unrighteousness.
Righteousness is actually the synonym of order.
Yeah.
Only that righteousness is the order you call it in a religious language, but it's actually synonym.
Yeah. And that shows that because I was actually crying within me when I was looking at those images, because that was actually me. We all, we have to admit that we lived in unrighteousness. That's big. That's really, maybe I'm speaking to someone. I'm speaking to myself. When I grew up, looking at that video, looking at what I've had today, I lived in unrighteousness. And because when I was young, it's the same experience that most of those things that I was looking at, it just brought me back into my childhood. And these are the things that I struggle with day in, day out in my children who are given to marry, and they're having children, and children who were given to marriage in earlier life, and what happened to them. But I'm looking at beyond. What happened to them if they have children? Yeah, what I struggle with is such environment. I live in such environment. My own story is a bit, which I'm not sharing here, but it's relatively the same, and I do struggle with it in my clinical work, but I've got to hold myself together to be there for somebody else who is telling me his story. So yeah, it broke my heart. And it's good to be here. It's good to hear all these things, that what unrighteousness is, and that all those things we need to observe it. Judgments, just weights in whatever we do in any form. Thank you.
I also wanted to say, definitely, I feel guilty that we do live in unrighteousness, and not only because we actually perform the art of unrighteousness, but we see people do it, and we don't to say anything about it. We don't make them aware because it's the living standard, and then we let them do it. Like the video we saw was a prostitution, but where I come from, they will send little children to do the chores of the house, while the family children don't do anything. So when I was watching that video, I was thinking about all that. There's a lot of way and people think you bring these children in a city to give them a better life while they working hard, and your children are not really learning anything. Not only that, it's two forms of unrighteousness. You are slaving those village children, and you also are acting unrighteous towards your children because you're not teaching them the right way of living. So it's two forms, not only harming the other kids, but harming your own children as well. And today, I am so grateful for the kind of mother I had. Actually, I have to go back home and say another thank you to my mother for the way she raised me based, even though I could have turned that spoiled based on how wealthy my family is, but she didn't let me be that kind of person. And I was able to see the value of whoever comes from the village, who people who didn't have the opportunity to get that kind of education. So this training is actually giving me another way to be grateful and to give more to the society, you know. And the other thing I wanted to say, we related the mathematics, the righteousness to standard. And it actually occurs to me, where I live in the US, the whole block, our houses, my neighbors and I, we also say that the guy who designed our houses must be drunk. So you talk about standard. You know, when you build a house, when you go to the store to buy like a window or a door, there's a standard, right? But my house, the whole house in my block, there's no way you can go to any store in US and get a standard size. You have to get a bigger size and then have someone customize it. So it shows that how not following a standard can cause frustration, can cost more money to anybody. You know, you spend more money, you are frustrated, and every time you cannot follow the order in order to get to the end result. So I really appreciate this teaching. Thank you very much.
about the topic of today, I learned about the value of law, order, and the system. And this is really, it's supporting the infrastructures or the setups that there's no foundations. If the foundations is lacking order, I mean, if the foundation is lacking law, order, and system, then it can really lead, I mean,
Destroy everything.
yes. And then I want to talk about the examples of the Indian train transport system. If you just look at everything, meaning things were not just put in order and there's no system that is regulating everything, a person is selling under the train. It just keep me that, don't they have conscience like to see that what they are doing is not right, or it's not just how it's supposed to be done? And don't they travel to other countries to see how things have to be done?
People don't. Most people don't. The amount of people that travel in developing countries is less than 1%.
And even the way they are risking their own life, climbing up on top, you don't know what, anything can happen anytime, and then it will be the end of your life. Really?
If that thing has accident,
I just learned that the main foundations, and then I came to understand that the main foundations of everything that you want to establish, anything, it can be anything, you should put law, order, and system in place.
Yes, we have, as I saw the trains in Bangladesh, I was thinking of Cameroon, especially. We have just one train line in Cameroon, and it's exactly the same mess. And I was thinking, my God, if as long as we don't come to the realization of this consciousness that law and order are important, we will never be able to set one proper step after the other in Africa. It's absolutely impossible. And the second thing, I was laughing because I believe as a person, as an individual, we really need to consider, I always see the brain as, the brain is composed of two parts. The one is analytical, the other one is rather creativity. And we need, as an individual, to develop both sides of the brain. And that's exactly what I realized looking at considering how actually God values mathematics, physics, exact sciences. As I was growing up in Cameroon, I used to admire nature. I would go into the bush and just sit there and look at the nature and ask myself, who created that? Growing up in France, I saw the beautiful gardens, Versailles. I love all these things. And as I became interpreter, I would be invited for conferences to interpret on specific conferences for Airbus, for example, and I would shy away because it was too many mathematics, too much physics. Although I admired seeing the assembly lines, how a plane is assembled. I don't know if you've seen videos. It's a wonder. Basically, you have a whole village. It's like the assembly line or the assembly place of a train is like a whole village, and every single engineer knows exactly what to do. I was amazed by that, but I didn't see the physics, mathematics, statistics. And looking at the video, I realized, okay, Justine, you really need now to, you have developed the creative part of your brain. You need to go into these exact science conferences in order to be actually, to function as holistic personality. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys. Well, I have to go to church now because, no, you continue talking, but I have to go to church. But we have the teacher for the afternoon session is already here. Pastor Christina is here and her team. And I will come back in the evening to continue. But I have to, the way I don't want to go and preach in church today, but what do I do? It is planned. It is my turn. I would rather stay with you than to stay with the thousands over there. Because, church these days, I would rather stay with people who want to learn, one or two people than to be in the crowd. We don't know who came. But that's part of being a pastor. You go to do what you need to do. So I'll be back.
Well, I'll keep it short, but this is why I really appreciate when we dissect the verses of the Bible, just because usually, like, if I were to just read the verses that he showed on his slides, I would just kind of bypass it and not really think anything of it. In fact, I would think that it's just describing God's process of creating the earth and the characteristics of God and who God is. And I would never think to apply that to myself, because we're the embodiments of God himself. And it just kind of baffles me that we just basically use those characteristics, those traits of God in the church, when it comes to being orderly, when it comes to counting the amount of chairs that people need, when it comes to mathematics, basically, in a sense. And we forget that we need to also carry those characteristics outside of the walls of the church as well into our communities. And it was just a great display of what Pastor Sunday did with applying, mathematics in the Bible and just the Christian aspect of it as well, just adding that values to ourselves and to our lives. And watching the video of those little girls being not sold, but sent to homes to be married, it just broke my heart. Imagine 7-year-old girls being sent to get married. I don't know who else's heart didn't affect, but it definitely affected mine. And that's why I'm just very thankful, and I stand behind DSA's mission of transforming Nigeria. And I think for those who were affected, those who are watching online who were affected by just seeing those little girls being sent to get married at such a very, very, very young age, I think that if you're passionate about changing that, you should definitely sign up for this Nigerian transformational project that we're doing. But yeah, I definitely think that it's about time that we apply order and systems just to the infrastructure of Nigeria in general, and hopefully it's going to carry on to other countries as well in Africa. That's just what I wanted to say.